provided your administrators with your login. So if you have that, great. If you don't have it, they do have those. So they'll, I'm sure, be getting those over to you. But basically, after you sign in the first time, it will look like this moving forward. So CentreSuite needs to recognize you're an M&T user. So I just want to point that out if it doesn't look just like this the very first time you go to sign in. For anyone that doesn't have a login, I can see in the chat, if you follow up, I'd say, I don't know, Kizzy, if you want them to come through you, but just shoot her an email and she can follow up with me and I can get you your login if she doesn't have it. As far as when you're to our login screen here, a couple of things. If you have questions, you can call this 1-800 number here. There is actually an option for cardholders. You'll hear it when you go through the prompts. There's an email box as well. Typically, we normally have you try and reach out to your administrators first from your company. And if they can't solve it, then they can call here as well. So we're trying to limit obviously as many people that can call in if we can, but obviously you can use this if needed. Another important thing is if you ever have fraud disputes, if you lose a card, always report that over the phone. So you would call this 1-800 number here as well, but you would go through option 8. So option 4 is directly to the commercial card team, which is for this system. Option 8 is to our fraud team. There's somebody there 24/7 for option 8. You just want to report that as soon as you know. And the fraud team will, get you through the next steps as far as getting you a new card or whatever needs to be done at that point. Once you're on this page as well, obviously, if you need help with your login, you have some self-serve here for like your ID, password, your login credentials, things like that. And again, we try to create profiles for every person. So you should have a profile. If you don't or don't have the email from your side, just let them know and we'll look into that for you before you try and self-register. What I'll do for the training today, I'm just going to pull up an active user and we're just going to look at the system from their view. So when you sign in to CentreSuite, it's going to look similar to what you see here. Now, depending on how many cards we've linked to your profile, like you can see for this one here, they have 2 different cards for the Speedwell programs. You might just have 1, you might have 2 or 3. It just depends on how many cards you're managing expense reports for in so many words. So you'll see a drop down if you have more than 1. In the drop down here, or in the box, I should say, you'll see your credit limit, your last charge that posted, and then you'll see transactions to report and unattached transactions. What we set up in the system starting with September here moving forward, any charges you do, the system will capture and put them in a monthly expense report for you. So what it's going to do is make an expense report for any card that you're managing as soon as the first charge posts during the month. So it'll create a report for the card and put it in progress here under My Task. And it's going to do that for each card that you're managing. Again, in this case, they've got 2 of them. And you can work on the reports through the month, which I'll show you here in a second. It will feed in all the charges, to your report as they post through to the card. And then the system will email you at the end of the month and ask you to please submit your report. So you can work through the report during the month. You're not allowed to submit the report until the month is over. And the reason for that is it's trying to match your billing statement. So it always will wait till the end of the month and it will give you an email once you're at that point to submit. The goal basically for you guys on the cardholder side is always work the report through the month as you have time. Once you're emailed from CentreSuite to submit your report, they're trying to have you get these submitted and approved by the 10th of the following month. So, basically within 10 days after your statement drops. So if you can obviously just focus on trying to push your expense report through as soon as you're notified from CentreSuite, that's the best, because then it gives your approvers enough time to kind of review these. They're trying to, stick with that 10th as like an internal cutoff to have everything done. but you want to give your approvers at least a few days to review these, within that 10-day time frame as well.
Mark,
So, yeah,
could you enlarge that image?
sure.
Thank you.
Let me know if this is that look a little better like that?
Yes, that's great.
Okay. To work on your report, if you click in progress here, that's going to take you to a manage expense report screen, same as clicking through here. And all your in progress reports from the system will show up here. The way it's going to name your report is the last business day of the month. It's going to show the card name and the last four of the card. So it will name the report each month, kind of following that. And basically, again, your job is just to work the report through the month. And again, like you can't submit the report until the month is over. So you'll see that's grayed out. There's no box to check under here for the reports. At the end of September, anyone with an expense report will get an email per report asking them to submit. And that's when this will be active at that point. Now, if you were to submit a report, which obviously we can't do until October, you would check the box here and click submit. A box will show up with your approver's name. You'll just check that off and click submit at that point. If you're an approver, you'll get an email from CentreSuite anytime there's a report pending your review. So you'll get notified. And, on the cardholder side, when you do submit, this will update depending approval. You'll be able to look through your report here, but you won't be able to make any edits. So you'll just be able, it's like a read only. So the approver has full access to make any changes to your report. They could change the expense codes, the receipts, which we'll get into in a second, and they can approve and close it, or they can reject it back to you. You'll get an email letting you know at any time your report's approved or rejected. If it's rejected, it will reopen in here. So when you click in the details, you can edit and then resubmit it to your approver. So that's just how you would submit. Now, if you're an approver, I'm not sure, and this person isn't, which is fine, but if you're an approver under my tasks, there'll be a for your approval. So anytime a report's submitted to you for approval, just like in progress here, it will update in your for your approval, and you'll see that where you can click and work through that report at that point. I'm going to go back in and just open one of the reports here. So we'll go through the detail. Basically, you can skip right to step 3. It's naming the report for you. It's automatically pulling the charges in for you. I mean, you can search here. You'll never see a charge because all your posted charges will come to your report automatically from the system. So it's going to total the charges up to this point. It's going off the post date. So when they actually post through is when it comes through here. And remember, after the first charge is when it makes the report after that. So what we've set up, you'll see, is a box for you to type in notes manually for a description. That's just a free form box. You can type up to 255 characters. So hopefully you don't need that much, but you can type, up to that. You have an RU field and a GL. Your RU will always default, or it should be defaulting. So you can see in this case, it's going to M624. So if that's correct, great. If for some reason you have to change that in the gray box here, that's going to be your drop down. And we have all the other choices that you can go through here. Now, when you're looking through this, obviously it's a big list. We can only show 20 per page, so there's 12 pages. If you know something about the description, you can search with an asterisk here, which is what it's getting at. If you put the keyword or phrase and search, that will filter to anything with that word in it. So that might be an easier way to search if you ever do need to change. And then for the GL field, if you click here, same thing. That's not defaulting, but your list's a lot less, extensive. So you can just choose one between the 5 here. You would click the button, click OK. The code will fill in. This is just so you know obviously what it stands for when you do choose it. So you would do that for each field. Now, when you're doing this, as far as assigning the codes, if you check off certain codes here, or if you check this one, it's all the charges at one time. Once you click that and click the allocate through here, it's going to open up the same fields, but it would allow you to put in notes or that RU or GL, whatever you want to put in here, but it would fill in all 8 charges in this case. So if you need certain charges to go to the same GL or same notes, your best option is just to check those off over here and click the allocate. So it's like a batch allocation all at one time. And then for over on this section here, you'll see there's a couple of icons. If a merchant provides extra detail about the charge, and that's all on the merchant, it depends on them, we'll indicate that with a picture here. So like you can see the card icon. I don't know what you'll be using the cards for, but if you use them, say for like a travel related charge, say like a hotel or gas or something like that, they're common to give us extra information too. So if you see something here before the receipt icon, you can click it, which will go into the detail, same as clicking here. So when you click this, it opens up all the information passed over about the charge. There's always basic information, about the charge, the merchant, etc. Anything additional is typically you'll see in the last tab here. And if you scroll through, in this case, Home Depot provided what they actually purchased. So you don't need to do anything different with the charge. It just gives you some extra details about the charge if you want to look through that icon there. As far as our receipt, you'll see this icon here to add a receipt. It's going to show for each line that posts through. When you click Add Receipt, and you go to upload receipts, we allow images in these different formats. So any PDF, any kind of picture format, it's one attachment per charge, up to 5 megabytes. So it's just saying it can be that large for the size. You have a couple of options here. So the first option, if you've got the image saved, to your computer or to your device, when you click browse here, it's going to let you browse your device you're signed in from. So in my case, when I click browse, I'm currently on my laptop. I'm just going to search through my computer here real quick and just show like a random attachment just so you can see how it would work. So we'll just choose this reference guide. We'll click open. That's going to pull the attachment to the bottom of the screen here in a second. I'm kind of looking at the chat as we're going through the recording. It takes a little bit to come through on my side, but I'm going to send it's a link with a password that I'll send to your administrators, and they might post it somewhere for your side or distribute it, however they feel necessary. But it'll just be a link with a password so you can watch this at any point. But I'll let them post it where they need to. I just got to wait till it comes through. Once the attachment shows here, if you click upload, it's basically checking to make sure it meets all these requirements. When it shows upload successful, it's went from your upload receipts to available. And give me 1 second. There we go. So your available receipts is basically your receipts gallery, same thing. So all your images you've gotten to the system will show here. Now you can edit the image as far as the name through here. And then you can save it. You can quick view it by clicking here. The quick view is like a preview window. It shows everything, but you got to scroll through it. So when this loads, you'll see kind of what I'm getting at. And then if you need to get the actual attachment, you can, of course, download that here. To delete it, you can go through here. As far as linking the receipt, so think of you have to get the receipt to the system, which we just did. Once it's in your available receipts, when you're in a charge, like we're in this one here, you would click the plus to attach and you would click OK. And basically, it's probably a little hard to see, but it'll show the receipt is linked here. So it shows view receipt instead of add receipt. And a question it looks like in the chat here, how long does it take for a transaction to show It's a good question. We don't really have any bearing on it. It's based off of that merchant. So what happens when you make the charge, they authorize it, which is your data card. When they actually close their batch, they ran the transaction in, then it will post through. Normally, it's about 1 to 3 business days if that helps you, but there's no rhyme or reason. It's on that merchant and how often they close their batch that they run the charge in. So until they actually do that, though, is when it will feed through that night. Now, when we click in here too, just so I can show you again, it does show an attached receipt, which is this. I'm going to delete this out, and that's just going to remove it from the system. And let me go back to the transactions here. So that's, again, one option for receipts. Now, when you're in your expense report, and you always want to click save before you exit this screen. So that's going to save whatever work you've done. So it doesn't auto save. Always click save like I did here. Anything that's still required in the report will pop up here. So just so you guys are aware, you basically need a receipt attachment for every charge. You need a description, and you also need the RU, which we'll be pre-filling, and the GL. So basically, every field in so many words is required per each charge. So even though I didn't fill everything in, if I just did one code or one receipt, it would save that. So do what you have time to do. You don't have to complete the whole report. The key is that you do click save before you exit is all. It's always going to remind you here what's still needed. If you ever need to split a charge, that's what this gray circle is here for. And that shows for each line item. When you click that, you can split as many different ways as needed. So if I say we'll split it 3 different ways, we'll click go. You can split by amount or percent. You can choose how to do that or say split it equally for me. And then basically you can choose how to do your different coding here in your description. So, and again, I don't know if this would apply to what you're doing, but if you had to do different RUs or GLs, this is what it's for. So you would either tell the system to split it equally for you or do the amounts yourselves and kind of choose your codes from there and save and return. And once you split a charge, if you ever need to, it will show as a broken circle just like this and this icon here. So you'll know what it indicated through there. Same for the approver, you'll see it. And when you click that icon, it will break out how it was split, for the different codes, etc.
Mark, I have a question.
Sure.
The internet connection is a bit poor, and I missed the bit about how you upload receipts.
Sure. Yep. So uploading receipts, there's a couple of different options. So in your computer, if you click the add receipt here, you can upload receipts from your device. You would just browse here and choose your image and click upload, and it will put it to your available receipts where you can then link it from there to any charge that's posted. You just have to click into the charge. The other option, which we haven't covered yet, but I'll pull this up, is we do have a mobile app. It's M&T CentreSuite. So I'm going to pull that up next. There's a guide here I'll show you real quick.
Awesome. That's what I was thinking. I was like, do we have to upload
On
all
the
the
computer,
receipts to the
yeah.
computer?
You
Yeah.
don't have to. I mean, obviously that's personal preference. A lot of people, for the receipts especially, like to use the mobile app. What I would do is, first sign in through centersuite.com with your login that we gave you. And then you will install its M&T CentreSuite. Make sure it's M&T CentreSuite before you do. And it should request the same login, so you'll put that in. I believe it sends you a one-time PIN, to activate. But as far as the expense report, you can do everything that I'm showing you on the computer through the app. So if you wanted to do your coding, your receipts, all of that, you can do so right through the mobile app. The way it will look, and I'll show this here if you can see it okay. It'll pull up a screen just like this. Now, a lot of you have multiple cards that you manage, just like we're showing with the example, from the desktop here. So it's gonna show one of those. I can't tell you which one. I forget like what it chooses first, but basically whatever card you're seeing here, if you're managing multiple cards, you can click the card icon here to switch, your view to that card. And once you click reports right here on the bottom, that's going to bring you to your expense report. So any in progress for those cards, you'll see that here. If you're an approver, you actually can click the needs approval. Any report sent to you for approval, you'll see obviously in that section. So you can do everything again from the phone if you need to. Now, when you get to the home screen from the app, you should be able to click your camera icon and take a photo and save it to your receipt gallery. So a lot of people capturing the receipt as soon as they make the charge, they'll go through the app, take a quick photo, and they'll say save to my receipt gallery. And what that's doing is it's putting it to your available receipts in the desktop as well. So they both will match. And then once the charge posts through, you'll see it, obviously whether you're in the app or on your computer, it will be in your report. So when you click into the charge, you can view the receipt you've linked, or you can click an add receipt and search your photo gallery at that point. So it's personal preference. Again, obviously a lot of people do like using the app. Me personally, I would use the app for receipts, like just taking photos and saving them to my gallery. For coding, of course, you can do it through the app. I myself would do the coding through here just because I hate doing drop downs on my phone, but that's me. So whatever you prefer, that's completely up to you. But those are basically the two options for the receipts. Now, in the mobile app as well too, when you take a picture, it will show basically, do you want to save it to your gallery or do you want to try and auto match the receipt? And unless, they've done an enhancement, the auto match is looking for if a charge is posted. So if you click it and if it fails, just save it to your receipt gallery. Because remember, the charge won't post at least until next day, if not 2 or 3 days after. So that's completely on the merchant. So you can't really change that. One question, and I don't know more for the administrators, it says when they take a picture for a receipt, what needs to be shown. It just says the amount or the entire receipt. So I don't know in the chat function if one of the administrators want to respond to that. I'm not sure what you guys prefer. Just know that it can only be up to that 5 MB for the size. So depending on how big the receipt is, that might make a difference. So I'm just going to go back to the home tab here. So that's your expense report process. Remember to click through here, work through it, whether it's through your computer, through the mobile app, save as you have time for the work you've done. And once you're indicated to submit the report, go ahead and submit that through to your approver. Then it's all on the approver at that time. I will say when you go to submit a report, or if you're an approver, when you go to approve or reject a report, the system will always say, do you want to put a note for the report, which is through here. You can add notes at any point. I would only add notes, again, for me, when you're prompted. So before you go to submit a report, when you click it, if it says you want to put a note, if you type a note here for your approver, they'll see that in their email. And if you're an approver, if you type a note here when prompted, when you reject a report or approve, especially if you reject a report, I would type in here rejected due to invalid receipt for such and such, right? So the more you put in here, it helps them because it comes through in the email letting them know their expense report was rejected. And if you're going to use your phone as far as for receipts, again, that's completely fine. I would definitely make sure your description is a good description because think of if you've made 20 charges for the month, you're going to have 20 attachments there. And if your description doesn't let you know what that attachment is for, you're going to have to keep clicking in each one to see exactly what it was a picture of. So when you do your image, if in the description, if you type Walmart charged $20, September 15th or something, right? So you know exactly what it's for without having to open it. That would be huge for the cardholder side. So when you look through your gallery, it's easy to tell which one that should go to. You can search expense reports in this managed expense reports for up to 2 years back, just so you're aware in here. When you have multiple accounts and you search here, you'll see the cards to choose from. I would always search by date created because your reports create during the month, the charge happened. Going back to the home tab, just back in this view account details as well. Another thing Kizzy had mentioned, so your cards are what we call chip and pin. So the chip is obviously just like any other credit card. You can insert it when you make the charge. Um, Now, some merchants require a PIN number just for the charge to go through, even if you're just doing a credit card, right? So you'll have, and I can't show this because it's only for the card holder for the cards that we've assigned to them. So when you sign in, there'll be a viewer manage PIN in this section here. And you'll need to do that per card, of course, since you've got multiple cards, if that's the case. But when you filter to the card, you click your viewer manage PIN. It'll let you set up a 4-digit PIN if you haven't done so already. And that will be your PIN if you're prompted by a merchant for the charge to go through, but also for your ATM withdrawal as well. So that's the easiest way I can tell you is probably go to the view manage PIN. It will show for you. It just doesn't for me because I'm emulating. And just do that for each of your cards. You can call into that 1-800 number on the card and go through the prompts. Don't quote me, I think it's option 6, but I'm just going off of memory, but it's automated so you can go through and do your PIN there as well. But you should have access through the view account details here. You can suspend your card at any point here. It will make you click save for it to go through. You can also set up alerts, which we call TSIS alerts through here. And when you click this, and again, if you have multiple cards, you want to do this per card. When you click yes to enable, I don't know what we're doing here, so I'm just going to X that. But when you click yes, it's going to pull up this section here. You can add contacts. So if you want to put your email, if you want to do your cell phone for text alerts, once you've built those and click alerts, we have a list that you can choose from. One that we'll definitely recommend, or highly suggest you use would be the fraud alert here. If you click yes, you would then choose the 0 selected. Your contact methods you've built would show up here. So you would check those and click save. So none of these are currently on. It's up to you to build your contacts through here and then activate them through here. But again, I would look through this list. I would definitely encourage everyone that's a user to at least do the fraud alerts. We notify you from M&T if we suspect fraud for your card. You should get a notification for any cards you're managing when a statement's ready to view. So you can filter again to the card and then you can view that statement here. That's also when you should get an email separate saying to submit your report. So you'll probably get 2 emails per month per card if you've used your card. And you also can upload receipts just to get them to the system through here as well. It's just a way to get them to that gallery or available receipts so that you can link it to a charge when it posts. Outside of this here, if we look up on the top, the statements, account activity, any cards that you manage will show here. So you'll click through the details. That's going to show real time what you've got available and what's posted so far. This will update after each statement drops. And from our perspective, the company is paying back. I don't know if anything's different, obviously, internally, but the company has one bill that covers all the charges for your cards, and basically they're going to pay back on behalf of you. So you will see a balance here, but it's the company is paying back for you, at least, for us at the bank. The transactions here will show up to 6 months back. So you can go back to those different billing cycles. You can export these as well when you download. The authorizations are current authorizations. And if you ever have declined, you can filter to declines. I would show you why it declined in here as well. And then the statements, you'll see 6 months of statements, once you actually have some from the bank here. So that's all through your account activity. You can view your recent authorizations here or in the details here. It's completely up to you. Your accounts, manage accounts, basically that shows how your card was set up, the address linked to it, your limit, your cash advance amount, which, like Kizzy said, I believe everyone's at 100 for the moment. But you can just look at that as a view only through here. The report, standard report, just to look through this. Each of you have the same list that you can choose from, so you can run reports at any time or schedule. When you look at the report, if I click on run, depending if you have one card, it will pre-fill for you. You would put in your dates first, but if you have multiple cards, you would click account. You would search and choose between which card or cards you want. If you have an option for format, it will show in a drop down here. This one actually is one you can include receipts. So I was just showing that. You would click yes, and then you would run the report from here. If you schedule it, that's obviously going to run for you at the time frame that you put in the schedule. Any reports, once they generate for you, will go into your output log. And in your case, they'll be here for 10 days. The expenses, view transactions, it's just like it sounds. You can view charges in this page here, actually up to 2 years back. So if we click on the card, we'll just leave it here for 10 days and click run. This is set up so you can do your coding, your receipts from this screen as well. The paperclip means it's already linked to a report, which every charge will be. So we just set it up so if you do click through here, you can do the same functions as well. And again, always save before you exit if you do. So remember, you can view charges here. All your expense reports and progress or for approval will show in here. Any receipts you haven't attached will show in this. And then that output log is here as well. The difference is in this, the statements is 6-month look back. Reports and expenses for your case is 2-year look back. So you have a little bit more, from when you're going back. The help here, if you go through product support, again, it's that service team, so you have their contact, and there is an option just for cardholders. So I would use that cardholder option more if you need like help with a login, things like that. And again, we encourage you to go to your administrators first if you have time to see if they can help you. Obviously, if you can't or if they're not available, of course, we have the service team for you. Let me go back to the home here. There is an index here. What I would say is you'll see in here there's some messages that we'll put up. If you click on this symbol here, it's all your messages in one place. So anytime CentreSuite's going to do an update, which it looks like it's coming up this weekend, normally it'll be unavailable for like a day. So we'll notate that to you. We always indicate, what to do if you have lost, stolen for reporting for a card. As far as like user guides, I would point you to this here, the resource center. So when you click this, it's a link in M&T that basically has all the different guides that we've developed for any user. So not all of this will apply to your setup. They're just kind of universal, but how to allocate charges might be a nice one for you. As far as one for the mobile app, that's right through here. That PIN number, this might be good for you to read through for your card. So this is, again, a lot of different guides you can reference if you have the time, just so you know where to look. You'll see the message here. I'm kind of reading it too with you. So there is a lot of call volume because of conversion with pub customers. So not that that's your fault, but just to point out, obviously, if you do call in, they're there to help, but it might be a little bit longer of a wait time as just as a heads up. If you don't need something urgent and you want to go through the service team, and again, that's completely up to you, but your best option, if it's not like crucial, might be to email them through here. Outside of those, if you click the drop down here for your name, this is where you can update your personal information as well. That is most of CentreSuite. Just looking through a list here of kind of what I wanted to cover. I think we touched on everything. I muted everyone. You guys have the option to unmute yourselves. So I'll open it up now. We've got plenty of time if you have questions, or especially for the administrators like Kizzy and the team, if you guys want to add anything in or touch on anything else that I didn't, explain for the process here. And again, you'll just have to unmute yourself through the audio if you do.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Went through the manage pin and it assigned me a pin. Do I use that one or do I have to change it?
Nope, if you did your PIN, are you saying through the system already? You set it up there?
Yeah, it just said it shows you one number at a time and it gave me a pin. So that's
Yeah.
I didn't change it or anything.
Yep, so that would be the PIN you'll use for your cash advance, or if you are prompted when you make a purchase. So yeah, you can use that for that card. But you can change it too if you want to change it to something else.
Now, if we take cash out, how do we submit receipts? Like it's gonna say we withdrew $50.
That won't show as a posted transaction in your report, that cash
Okay.
advance, I don't believe. Yeah, if that helps you. It would only be, I think it should only be like actual like charges from the merchant.
Are we even allowed to do cash advances? They made it seem like we shouldn't do cash advances.
I believe so. Kizzy, do you want to touch on that?
Sorry, also, is there a limit on what we can take out if we can take out any cash?
Well, right now everyone was set at $100 for cash advance as a limit. So that would be your limit for the time being until one of the administrators adjust it.
Mark, this is Carrie. The intent of putting the $100 in was to test to make sure that we could have cash advances working for everybody. The intent will be that once we get this up and running, that only those programs that need cash advances or cash will have cash available to them through cash advances. The reason for that, as you heard, is that you're going to have to do a separate reporting for how you use that cash. So this system works great if you have a charge coming through from a vendor and you can match the cash, you can match what your receipt is to that. You're going to have to do a second set of reporting to report on all of your cash advances. And we'll probably have to end up using something like the old petty cash system for that. We haven't worked out all the details because, quite frankly, this is the first time we've seen how the system will work, and we're going to have to work out all those issues. So we don't want people to use cash advances unless they absolutely need them. But the intent of the system is to use your credit card at the vendor and not to use cash.
I know some don't take credit cards. Like if you take them out for ice cream, some places are cash only. So we might run into issues like that here and there.
Right, and what you're going to have to do is what you used to have to do when you used cash as a pet, in the old petty cash system. You're going to have to have the receipt from the vendor. You're going to have to put it down on a petty cash form, and then you're going to have to submit that to say how you use that cash that you took out as a cash advance. So you're going to have a separate set of reporting which is outside of this system, to say how you used all that. So we want people to use this system because this system, as you can see, is a whole bunch easier
Yes.
than submitting the separate reporting the petty cash required. So we don't want you to use cash advances, but we realize that there are situations where you're going to have to need it. And we still, got to work through all of how we're going to do all of these things, because as I said, this is our first time seeing a lot of this. But so I would greatly minimize the amount of cash you need to use.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. And two, just side note, let me check on my side because I'm not many customers use cash advance. Not that you can't, but let me check and see, like, will that flow into a report? I mean, my gut tells me no, but I could be wrong. So if it flows into your expense report, great, because then you could use obviously everything we're showing you. But let me see how it's reported, because if you can pull it in, even if you want to still use our system, say it won't pull to your auto report, they can create a report manually here and still use this. So it's all in one place. But I gotta confirm, like I said, on my side, where it will show up when you guys do use that, if it comes up. And then I can answer your question on just go through here and do the same things, or if you can do it manually through here. So let me check on my side as a takeaway.
And typically, people don't use cash advances because in a credit card environment, it's very expensive. It's usually a 4% fee for the amount of the charge in addition to additional fees. M&T has agreed to waive those for us. However, we don't want to be using it. Lisa, I noticed your hand is up.
Yeah, I just actually wanted to co-sign everything that you're saying, Carrie, especially for the mental health community services division. One of my worries about having multiple reporting that we need to do on a monthly basis is that things will get lost. And the thing that I really like about CentreSuite is that you can literally upload the receipts as Mark had shown us today, right into the system, and having a separate process. I just worry about that for us. So I'm just echoing the strong emphasis on us using the credit card to purchase items for the programs as opposed to doing cash advance. Now, I know that there's like one or two programs where that truly is not a possibility for numerous reasons. In that case, we'll need to figure out, as Carrie was saying, a different process. But again, for the majority of our programs, the goal is to really just be using the credit card so that it's better documented and we can report it much easier.
And it will also reduce the amount of 8090 charges. So you've lost the receipt. Because if you have the charge coming through from the credit card system, it shows the vendor and the amount. In a lot of cases, we can use that as verification that that's what the purchase was for. There was a lot of questions about what receipt, what you had to do on the receipt as far as taking the picture. It should be the same level of receipt that you gave when you were doing a petty cash. So, and a lot of times you had to do a paste job and attach the receipt, but you were showing basically the vendor and the amount, for the attached receipt. We at least need the vendor and the amount, but we should have all of the attached receipt to show what you purchased. The thing that's nice about the level 3 reporting that can be available from some vendors is it will show all of the things that you bought, not just the total from the vendor and the vendor name. So in that case, that level 3 reporting, which is could be available, is actually the level of receipts that we need to prove to our various funders that we have actually used the funds in the way that we were expected to use them. So that's something that we think this is going to be very helpful for us as far as proving to our vendors that we are using the money um, uh, as our vendors have told us to use it.
I have a comment regarding the cash withdrawals if needed to be, like you're taking them for ice cream or something. On all of your charges and including your cash withdrawals should be showing up as the balances have to match the bills. And with that, you can actually take a copy. If you're taking out cash, you can upload that receipt and attach that to that cash withdrawal. So you should be able to work it the same way if, as Mark said, it shows up, but I think it really should show up because the way the system works, the total amount that you spend is going to match the bill. So any cash withdrawals should also match the bill. And you would do the receipts the same exact way and tie them into that cash withdrawal.
Yeah, and I'm gonna check. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure. But as long as they pull in, yeah, it'd be perfect because you'll just work it through here and then problem solved. But yeah, I'll confirm just to be safe, just because, like I said, I don't run into cash advance too much now that you can't use it. Just not many people use it, so I gotta check myself just to be safe for you.
Yeah, I have a feeling the problem's going to be is if you take out $100 and you only have receipts for 25, then you got 75 that have not been, receipts have not accounted for it. So then we're going to have a separate monitoring for, how did you spend that other 75 bucks? That's going to be the problem with the issue. And that's probably going to be what will be problematic. And we're going to have
Exactly.
how to do it.
I agree, Carrie.
I know. So there's some people with their hands raised. We'll get them next. Just real quick before we go to those, I'm trying to catch up on the chat. So there will be a recording. I just gotta wait for it to come through, and I'll send the link to your administrators so they can get that out to who needs it from there.
You can hear me,
Somebody
Mark?
asked. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I've been having difficulties. This is Kizzy. I've been having difficulties with my volume, and I apologize. And thank you, everybody. But I also want to say, I know within the chat, I seen one of them. They had a question about the receipts and do they have to show the amount. I just wanted
Yep.
to add to what Kerry was saying. Initially, if you need to take a picture, if you have the long receipts, because sometimes when you go to the store, you can tape the receipt on a letter size, cut it and tape it side by side, and then maybe take a picture of it, scan it, and then you can attach it to your transaction once it posts online to make it easier. And sometimes there's additional information on the receipt because there's a lot of receipts that's long, but some of that is probably coupons, discounts. We don't need that information. It's just the key detailed information as far as what was purchased, the total amount, allow us to see the last 4 digits of the credit card just to make sure that it's being matched up. And then we kind of go from there.
One
And
to
yeah,
question, Kizzy. Sorry.
no,
Which you might have saw too. It says. So they get asked for their social security when they go to set up the PIN, and I'm trying to remember too, Kizzy. So keep me honest, but I believe we set up a generic number for you for everyone's social. Does that sound correct, or am I?
correct.
Okay. Do you
No,
remember what? I can look it up. But if if you're gonna stick with that, I can let them know what they should use. Because obviously, when you hear social, you automatically put in your social, which makes sense. But I'm pretty sure we have a generic one that you guys or somebody, maybe us at M&T, like we said, set it up for you. So if you need me to look it up, I can see what it is and I can put it in the chat so people know because
yes,
that's what it will be. Does
yes.
that work
Kizzy,
for
do you
you?
know what it is?
I don't know off the top of
Um,
my head because I didn't think it would be needed, but I guess it's needed when it comes to the pin. That's what it sounds like.
Right.
And
Depending on what they're asking or what they call in for, they could be. So yeah, I'll
it, wa-
go
yes, it
ahead and
was a
keep going,
birthday
Kizzy, and
too.
I'll look it up and I'll put it in the chat for
Okay,
everybody.
that'd be
Oh,
helpful.
okay.
I have a feeling that we
um,
may have used the TIN number for Baycode, and so the last 4 digits of that are 8575. but yeah, if you could look that up, Mark, that would be terrific. And the reason why we did that, everybody, is so none of this is attached to your social security number. And so therefore, none of this will impact your credit. So just want to make that clear to everybody that none of this is attached to your social security number. And if you notice, the cards themselves don't have people's name on them on the front. It just has the program name. However, each card has been assigned to a person in the program, and that name is the one that is listed as a user in the M&T system. And I don't think, do we want them to be changing their, do we want them to be attached, doing their own PIN numbers? Because if somebody else uses the card, then you're going to have to share that PIN number with other people.
I have a
Do you have
question.
the answer to that, Kissy?
There are going to be multiple users, and hoping that in most cases they're not using the cards as much for, I'm assuming the one person that has the one PIN number, they can keep it to themselves, and they can go forward and do the ATM withdrawal and then find a way and share the receipts with us. But no, it should be that one person with the one PIN number to keep instead of sharing it. Unlike the card itself, it's shared with staff to be used when the credit card charges are made.
That person has all the reporting responsibilities. So if you let somebody else use the card, you're going to be responsible for reporting that. So just keep that in mind. Okay.
Yes. One of the suggestions I made, because I know sometimes there's weekend staff, or was trying to have like a sign in and sign out sheet to better track the card, where the card is. Always keep the card in a secured location. And then just throughout the month, just try to balance all the charges as you go along. Yes, this is true. You cannot go forward. It will be our first run, as all the card holders are new. We're new to it as well, and we're adjusting to it. But you gradually have to do the attachment. It's easy. I tried it myself, and it was pretty easy. I am seeing some of the programs, they're attaching the receipts. It looks great. Um, but if you run into difficulties, Mark is here to help today. But anytime you have any questions, you can always forward all your questions and concerns to the Petty Cash email or myself, either or, to try to assist. But it's going to be our first run for the month of September, but you do have time. You can always go into the system and try to play with it. As long as you're not saving anything that you're not supposed to save, you can do the clicks. Just try to get a feel for being online for it. But yes, as far as the person, there's one person completing the expenses, attaching the receipts, doing the coding, the description, and then they normally, once they approve, they're sending all their charges, submitting it to the one approver. So the person that's maintaining the expenses on a monthly base cannot be the same person approving it. It clashes with it. Just want to let everybody know. So the approver cannot be doing it both, and then the person that maintains it monthly cannot be doing both. It has to be two separate names. Um, and if it's names that we provided to the bank, so the names for everyone that was assigned user IDs. If anything's wrong, I am getting a lot of emails that it needs to be changed. Again, you guys can contact me and I can make the changes for you if needed to, as far as what it needs to be. And then we'll go through the process.
There's a lot of people with their hands up. Emmanuel?
Yeah. Just have a question about when your account shows that account status is being suspended. What are you gonna do?
If sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Right now, I can see my account status said it has been suspended. What is going on? I don't know what I will do to make it unsuspended.
Your account been suspended, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. If after this training, you can contact me and then I can look it up personally for you. To
Okay.
look
Correct.
further into it, I'll provide you the information on that particular. I will just need to know what program it's for, and then we
Yeah,
can go from there.
this is okay. No problem. Do you want me to call you? What is your phone number?
It's 617
Okay.
371
Okay.
3048.
3048.
Correct.
Okay. I'll do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
Did look
Realize
up
that
to
we've got a lot of people who have a lot of, there probably will be some issues here. So if you don't get immediate response, we're going to have to, just be a little patient.
yeah, and Kizzy, the social, at least for the cards I spot checked, it's all nines.
Okay,
And interestingly enough, too, the date of birth, if they to get
February.
prompted
That's
for that,
February,
it's
right?
two. Yeah, it's all twos.
February.
2/22.
Yes.
You guys were all born in 2022, so
I remember
congratulations.
I remember
Uh,
I remember the birthday, but
yeah, I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what prompted whoever to do it that way. Maybe they like the number two, but that's what they got for now. So yeah. But yeah, if you guys are prompted, just remember it's all nines for your social, all twos for your date of birth for the for the time being, unless somebody adjusts it.
Okay, Jim, you had a question?
Yes. My question is as regards what Kizzy said. We used to run into this problem. Sometimes we make purchase, especially from American Food Basket. Sometimes we don't have the last 4 digits of that credit card. In a situation like this now, before now, we used to print from the bank statement, but now we are touching it against the bank statement. What steps do you think we can take when we run into a situation like this moving from here?
Okay, as far as when you make store transactions and try to avoid, I think in advance you should log online and establish a PIN. And go from there so you can know what your PIN is. So when you're making store transactions, as you go along, um, you should be fine. Every one is set up different on their limits, and some programs are set up on a weekly spend and a monthly spend. So if you have a weekly spend, it's a different amount from your monthly limit. So it's just about balancing and making sure you're staying within the weekly spend or the bi-weekly spend. If you need to know your information, I can provide that to you as well. Everyone's set up differently, but I do have the information. When I provided the user ID to everyone, I provided their limits and what their monthly spend is. I mean, what their monthly spend is, their weekly spend, and their bi-weekly spend. So that's information that should have been sent along with your user ID.
Okay, thank you. This is helpful, but I think it didn't answer my question. My question is this: in time past, I think we have had that issue from Aspenwall. When you make a purchase, for instance, the receipt will not show the last 4 digits of that card. And I know in time past, we have also not received that particular amount from what we have requested. But now that we are going to have it attached against the bank statement, what do we do in a situation like this? Because we don't have control over it. Some will display the 4 digits, some will not display it. So what other proofs do we need to substantiate the transaction?
So you're talking about the last 4 digits of the card, right?
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
So the last 4 digits of the card is something whoever's maintaining the monthly expenses, they should have the last 4 digits of the card. If you have the card in hand, it has the last 4 digits. If you're making a transaction, you have the last 4 digits of the card. Um, but it's about making sure that which card you're actually using. But the last 4 digits is always provided. Even when I provided the user ID access, it had the last 4 digits of the card. The information is available for you. It was provided, and then it's available online when the person is signed when they're doing their monthly expenses.
I think he's saying that the last 4 digits are not showing up on the
On the
receipt.
receipt,
So how does
yes.
he submit that when it doesn't show the last four?
Yes.
Oh, that's fine. As long as the receipts we'll compare it against the total amounts
Okay.
because it should be matched in the transaction. I
Yeah.
apologize. It should match the transaction as long as it's matching. But as far as the reason why I said the last four digits, because initially when we're going through the receipts, sometimes people fold it to the extent that we can't see the details. We can't see the information. And if it's not shown, that's understandable. I mean, everyone has different receipts. And sometimes you're correct, it's not there, but as long as the total is matching and the name of the place that you actually made the purchase from.
And John, you're going to be matching these in CentreSuite. So you will have a charge that comes through on CentreSuite that says, you use your credit card at Walmart for $30. And you will have a receipt that says Walmart $30. So it may not have the last four digits of the credit card that was used to purchase, but you already have that in CentreSuite because that's what you're going to have to match it up to. The reason why we did in petty cash that we had to have those last digits was because some people by mistake use a card to purchase something and then they would look for reimbursement for that under petty cash. So we just wanted to make sure that people weren't using receipts that would be actually going against a citizen's credit card purchase and getting reimbursement for it in petty cash. So that was the reason why we wanted those last four digits.
Thank you everyone for your help.
No problem. It's a process. We're getting through it.
Chris, you had a question?
Can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah, Kissy, I just want to clarify what you said earlier about the receipts. So we usually shop at beaches, and the receipts usually very long. So
Yeah.
now, are you saying that we need to cut the receipt, tape it, and to show all the items, or should we continue to fold it as usual?
You can only do that if it's transactions with multiple to the point where you can't take a picture, you can't get it all in one picture. When you're taking a picture, or you can't get it all when scanning. That's the only time. But if you can get a glimpse, if you can get a capture of the receipt in whole, then that should be fine. You do not need to cut it and tape it. Because I know the reason why I'm saying this is when we was dealing with the debit cards, some of the receipts they will fold it because it's long because there's so many transactions that there's so many items that was purchased from the store. So it's only when it's that case. But if you can scan it so we can view the whole thing, it's fine.
Okay, so should we cut it and tape it on the paper and take a picture? Like you.
Side by side. If it's necessary, yes, side by side, so we can view the whole receipt in full.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, I have a
And
question.
my last question about the just for the banker. So for some reason, if we return, let's say assuming that the items we return the items, and that we're going to have two receipts, the original receipt and the return receipt. Would we able have option to post those two receipts?
If the question was, can you do two attachments? It's only one attachment per charge. So if you had like two different things you'd have to take one picture of them or scan it as one attachment.
Oh no, I think he's talking
No,
about the
no, that's a
return of
different.
credit. No, you're talking about the credit, Chris, right?
Yes, if
Yeah,
you let's say you buy stuff and then you end up returning, and that you're going to have
Okay.
two receipts,
yeah.
the original receipt and the return receipt. Would you be able, will you have option to post those two receipts?
Mark, can you correct me if I'm wrong? If the credit post is on the account, they should be able to attach the credit receipt to the credit when it.
Yeah, then
Okay.
yeah, it's still gonna require a receipt and codes, but essentially, yeah, if you have like a return receipt, you could put that or the refund, you would link that. You would still do the same. It's still gonna force the codes because it's looking at it as like a charge, even though it was a credit. So just put the same codes, and in your description box, just put this was a refund, and kind of
Right.
state that there.
Correct. So
Thank
Chris,
you.
it will be the same thing. The charge will post, and you just post it as a credit. They initially, when you return something, they'll give you a credit receipt, and you'll just attach that credit
Yeah.
receipt to it.
Okay. Thank you.
No
I have a
problem.
question. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so I have a question. What do we do with the receipt? Unlike before, we have to keep the originals as a program. What do we do with the receipt after taking the pictures and uploading them?
I would say for a short period of time, I say for a couple of months just to ensure, because this is a new process for everyone. You just want to hold on to your receipt and just try to separate them by months as we go along, just in case we have to revert and request the receipt from you, a particular one. If the image was bad, if you try to attach it and we happen to see on our end that it didn't come out clear, we'll probably request the original receipt. So again, this is an adjustment for everyone. We just want to try to get comfortable with the process. I'll say hold it on at least probably try to keep it. I want to say approximately 5 months at least, so we can ensure, because we're gonna have on a monthly base on our end, we're gonna have to monitor all the accounts to make sure that the receipts are attached, the approvals going through, and run reports. So if you just hold on to it just in case we have to revert back to the original, it will be helpful.
Okay. All right. Another question is, unlike the previous petty cash, we have up to Tuesday at noon for the cutoff time. Do we still have something like that with the MTN bank?
No, this is now a new process, so we no longer do this. We're no longer on a weekly base. We're now on a monthly base. So
So
your
the
due
cut
date is the 10th. The first due date is the 10th of October, that you would have to attach all the receipts, maintain the RU, the GL, the descriptions, and then pass on to the approval, so your approving person can complete their approval process.
Okay, so this is why I have the problem. I am the one that do the petty cash, and I've been listed as the approval. So in this case, I had one person can do both.
You said, can you do both for?
I had during the presentation, one person can do both, and I am the one that does petty cash, and I'm listed as one of as the approver. So that means I can do both, right?
No, there should be one person maintaining everything, and if you're the approver, they will forward the charges to you as far as the RU and the attachment of the receipts. It should be forwarded to you, then you will be the final approval for
Okay. But
transactions.
I think I had one of the presenters that you can do both. So that's
There's a conflict. When the names were provided to the bank, and we were told that we cannot it cannot be the same person's name. So it has to be either or. If you want to, you can contact me, and then I'll just double check and I'll tell you who's listed. I'll just need the program's names, and we can kind of go from there just to make sure you're set up correctly.
Right. And to clarify, like in this example, they have both Speedwell cards. They couldn't approve those as well, if that helps you. So it's got to be a separate user that approves the expense report. So if your expense reports are populating here, you won't be able to approve them. It would go to somebody different. So it won't let you do both, if that helps you.
Okay. So I'm a speedwall, so I don't know. So now I can do both.
Yeah, you'll be managing all the reports up front and doing the codes and receipts, but when you submit them, it'll go to somebody outside of you.
Reagan, they go to me.
Yeah, because
I believe.
okay.
I believe.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Reagan, you and Jasmine will manage the account, and then the approver is me.
Hey,
Oh,
Kathy,
okay.
can you hear me?
All right. Thank you.
We can hear somebody talking in the background, but it's really quiet if you can adjust just
It's
the volume.
Yes, it's fainted.
Hey, kids, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, this is Sunny from Carroll Circle.
Hi.
Hi. I just went on the system and it said my card is not valid.
Oh, it should not say. I would have to. I would
Was
have to check the limits and see what. I have to look further into the account. If you want to contact me and we can go over. I could thoroughly look through the accounts.
Because
oh,
it had Simon's name on it, not mine.
It should be all the cards should have the program's names on them.
No, but when I got the package, it had Simon's name on it and my assistant's name on it. So does that make a difference?
So when you receive the credit card on the envelopes, on the front, it was the name of the person who will be maintaining the RUs and then transactions, maintaining their expenses, monthly expenses, and on the back is the name of the person was of the approver. And it's just trying to give an idea of everyone of what was assigned to the bank, but it can be changed if it needs to be changed. So
Yeah.
if it's not what it should be, then that's when I can be contacted and I can make the changes and correct them what it needs to be. But I need to make sure that, again, there has to be two separate names. One person maintaining the expenses on a monthly base and one person approving on a
Okay.
monthly base.
I'll call you after this is over.
Okay, no
Thank
problem.
you.
No
Thank you.
problem.
Kizzy, when you
Yes.
talk to her, if they're clicking through here, like on the WebEx, the not registered, you don't want anyone to self-register because we created a profile and linked at least all the active cards to somebody, right? So that would give them like an error. But if she's signing in through here and seeing like declines or something like that, yes, like if you can see it and it shows, great. But if you need help, let me know. But yeah, I just want to make sure nobody's clicking through here because you guys all have profiles. It's just
Right.
you need to use the login that we set up.
I've been running into a couple of issues because we were trying to maintain the balance of trying to issue out the cards so everyone can pick up the credit cards, and
Yep,
some people took the initiative to create their user ID, and
self-register.
I had to
Yeah,
come back and tell them no, I have the user ID. And
yep.
I provided, so I cleared up some of them, and I think that might be the case, which is why I prefer everyone to just contact me. I can double check with them to see what they're using so I can make sure they're using the same thing that I have.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I know it's a little confusing because you can
Yeah.
click here, but we did it up front for you, so you actually
Yes.
have a sign in, or you should, and then we'll
Yes, they
we'll get
definitely
back
do.
to you. Okay.
Leonora has her hand up, and I don't know if you were doing that to provide some clarification. Leonora, do you want to go ahead?
We can't hear you, Nee.
We can't hear you, Leonora. Well, I guess we'll have to wait for her clarification. We've only got a couple more minutes.
It looks like Stanley Williams has a question. I think you just gotta, if you just want to unmute yourself, you should be good from there.
Hey, I have a question, please. This process starting as soon as possible, and like what Chris was saying, that sometimes you get a long receipt. I kind of say if maybe when the staff is doing a transaction, they can split up the transaction so that you won't get a longer receipt. Like that, you can picture the receipt and upload it.
One thing I do want to say is before we finalize this is that all of the purchases that you made prior to 9/3 or 9/6 rather, prior to using your credit card, when we were still on the debit card system, all of those transactions are all going to have to be reported through the old system that we used. So you're going to have to submit petty cash forms that actually have the receipts attached to them. We're going to have to clean out those accounts. So you're only doing on this system those charges that you used the credit card for. So I want to make sure everybody's clear about that. The other petty cash, the debit cards, we're still going to have to clean all of that up, but it will have to go through the old petty cash reporting process that we had before.
I already did that, and I got an email back instantly for that last week. Do I need to send that again, or will they have that in there? It was an email saying to use the new system.
No, you don't have to resend it. We have
Okay.
them.
Okay.
I noticed, I think so far, I didn't go through all the emails, but so far one, I think they submitted submitted receipts. They put it on a request, but it was actually for credit card. So we're just trying to make sure we separate the two, because everyone's still accustomed to the weekly process for petty cash. So we're trying to get everyone used to the monthly, because we had a timeline of the Tuesday at 12 o'clock. So we're just trying to get everyone familiar with. Now we have one due date, which is now the 10th of each month, and now we're maintaining all the programs are now maintaining everything online with M&T CentreSuite. So it's just, again, it's a process for everyone. We're just trying to make sure, and the message, it's the bounce back email that you received. We're just trying to, I try to update that just so I can put out the information for everyone to let them know. But at the bottom of that, I did change it to let them know that everyone should be submitting their last request for the debit card, because we have to, that's an internal thing that we have to do with all the budgets that were remaining from the accounts for the debit card. But at the same time, we're trying to clean up debit cards, and we're trying to make sure everyone's having a great start off of the credit cards, the M&T. That's why well, personally me, so I can't confuse it, and I don't want to confuse anybody else. That's why I put M&T in front of the credit card, so people can know, like, that's M&T, that's credit cards, to not confuse it with the debit.
Sorry, so I just have a quick question. If our balance is 800 a week and we don't spend that 800, will the remaining balance roll over to the next week?
Correct. It will.
Okay, thank you.
This is a new process for everyone, and the reason why we have a weekly and a bi-weekly max spend is only because we don't want any programs to run into the case where they're spending out their total monthly limit. So it's just trying to ensure that there's a balance for everyone, because again, it's new, because we're going from weekly to now we're going to like a monthly spend total. So the whole process will be different, but yes, it will roll over to the next week.
Thank you.
No problem.
I don't know if you guys said this already. I just wanted to know, we're supposed to put in the receipts by the 10th. When does the money actually go into the account?
The first of each month.
The first of each month.
The first of each month, the credit cards reload.
Okay.
It's
Thank
no separate account any longer, basically. We pay the bill, and then that allows the new the dollars to start as of the first.
I know this is for quality management. But my question is, do we still maintain the petty cash binder like the way we used to? Or
Do you still maintain the petty cash binder? Oh, the request, you mean?
no, I mean the regular binder that we used to keep, like to save everything. Do we still continue with? Do we still continue?
I'm unfamiliar about that, but it would be
That being a
helpful.
quality management binder, we're gonna have to get clarification on that, Sar.
Okay, yes, please.
I would assume we'll want to keep it in place
Right.
until such time as we feel comfortable that we've got all the kinks worked out of the system. We're at 11:30 right now, so I would suggest that anybody who has additional questions could send them to Cash, and that way Kizzy will respond to all of them. And this training material will be in the electronic handbook, and we will be posting it there as well. So I just thank you all for coming to this, and thank you, Mark, and thank you, Kizzy. I hope this helped to clarify, but I realize there's going to be a lot of questions.
Yes.
So we'll all work through this together. And
Yes.
final words, Kizzy?
Yes, that's my favorite words. Like it takes a village. We're gonna get through this. It's all new to all of us. So, and I'm here to help everybody along the way. So again, it's new. I'm learning myself as I go along. So don't. But I have the questions. You have the questions. I have the answers. That's what I should say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
and
Everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kizzy.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Mark.
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you, everyone. All right, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Hello?